From a sickly child sketching alone in silence, to a forgotten genius who coined cell and reshaped science. This is Robert Hooke's untold story. Robert Hooke, a life of quiet genius and relentless curiosity. Robert Hooke's journey is one of brilliance wrapped in adversity. Often eclipsed in textbooks by his more publicly celebrated peers, his legacy still pulses through the foundations of modern science. His story is not merely one of intellectual achievement, it's an ode to the power of quiet resilience, unyielding curiosity, and the remarkable things one mind can unlock in solitude. Early life, fragile body, fierce mind. Born on July 28, 1635, in Freshwater, Isle of Wight, Hooke was the youngest of 4 children in a devout Anglican family. His father, John Hooke, was a curate. His mother, Cecily Giles, supported the household and nurtured Robert's early interests. From birth, Robert was frail and suffered from chronic health issues that confined him indoors. These limitations, however, became fertile ground for an imaginative mind. Rather than running outdoors with other children, Hooke spent hours dissecting clocks, building contraptions, sketching intricate details of insects, and absorbing the world through observation. His childhood was solitary, but never idle. He was sketching, crafting, and contemplating the mysteries that others might overlook. When his father passed away, Hooke was just 13. Using a modest inheritance, he moved to London and apprenticed under artist Peter Lely, where he improved his skills in illustration and anatomy, 2 disciplines that would later become invaluable in his scientific work. The Oxford chapter, A New Intellectual World. Hooke's true metamorphosis began at Westminster School, where he studied Latin, mathematics, and mechanics under the tutelage of Dr. Richard Busby. Even among the brightest peers, Hooke was revered for his mechanical insight and mathematical precision. From Westminster, Hooke entered Christ Church, Oxford, where his natural brilliance began to shine. Though never officially graduating with a degree, he was quickly absorbed into the elite scientific circle surrounding Robert Boyle, often assisting in experiments on gases and pressure. This relationship not only exposed Hooke to rigorous experimental methods, but placed him in the middle of what would soon evolve into the Royal Society of London. Oxford was not just a place of study, it was an incubator for innovation. Here, Hooke mingled with scientific minds like John Wilkins and Christopher Wren, and began formulating ideas that touched everything from physics to philosophy. Micrographia and the Birth of the Cell. In 1665, Hooke published Micrographia, a stunningly illustrated book that unveiled the microscopic world to readers who had never before imagined its existence. Using one of the most advanced microscopes of the time, Hooke meticulously observed and drew images of cork, flea legs, and plant tissues. It was in this work that he first coined the term cell, from the Latin cella meaning small room, to describe the basic unit of life he saw in cork tissue. Micrographia wasn't just a scientific book, it was a visual and intellectual masterpiece. Its publication made Hooke an overnight sensation in England's intellectual circles, and opened the eyes of many to the complexity and beauty of biology. Hooke's law and contributions to physics. While known for his work with microscopes, Hooke's genius extended deeply into physics. He formulated what is now known as Hooke's law. The force needed to extend or compress a spring is proportional to that distance. Simple in its elegance, this law remains a cornerstone of engineering and mechanics today. Beyond elasticity, he explored planetary motion and gravitation, even before Newton's Principia, light and optics, proposing a wave theory in a time when the particle theory was dominant. The development of air pumps and barometers, influencing early meteorology. His ability to shift between disciplines was not just rare, it was revolutionary. Architecture and rebuilding London. Following the Great Fire of London in 1666, Hooke turned to civil service and partnered with Christopher Wren to help reconstruct the city. His knowledge of geometry and mechanics allowed him to create innovative designs, including surveying plans and architectural structures. Hooke helped plan the layout of new streets and buildings, design fire-resistant structures, contribute to the rebuilding of iconic locations such as the Royal Greenwich Observatory. Architecture for Hooke was a practical application of his mathematical mind, blending form, function, and the future of a city forever scarred by fire. Personal struggles and rivalries. Despite his achievements, Hooke's life was riddled with tension. He never married and relied emotionally on his niece, Grace Hooke, who lived with him for many years. His frail health persisted, and as he aged, he became increasingly isolated and irritable. One of Hooke's greatest rivals was Isaac Newton. The dispute between them centered around credit for gravitational theory and optics. When Newton published his Principia Mathematica in 1687, Hooke felt his ideas had been unfairly appropriated. This led to a bitter feud, culminating in Hooke being largely erased from historical accounts after Newton became president of the Royal Society. To add to the obscurity, no verified portrait of Hooke exists today, possibly due to Newton's deliberate efforts to diminish his legacy. Legacy that echoes through time. Robert Hooke died on March 3, 1703, in London. At the time, his reputation had faded, and his contributions lay buried beneath political feuds and societal neglect. But history has since corrected itself. Today, Hooke is recognized as a pioneer of microscopy and biology, a foundational figure in physics and mechanical science, a visionary who merged disciplines with seamless intellect. Institutions like the Royal Society now celebrate his legacy, and modern textbooks include his name alongside the giants of science. His contributions laid the groundwork for Newton, Darwin, and countless others. Why Robert Hooke's story still inspires? Hooke reminds us that the brightest minds don't always command the loudest spotlight. He was a polymath who never conformed to the academic structures of his time, yet accomplished more across disciplines than many who followed formal paths. His story teaches resilience. Fragility didn't stop him. Isolation didn't define him. Curiosity. He never stopped observing, questioning, or creating. Legacy. Even without fanfare, true contribution survives. If you're crafting designs, visuals, or thematic ideas around Hooke's life, there's immense creative fuel in how he saw the invisible and made it visible. From cell to city plans, from microscope slides to mechanical laws, Hooke turned observation into revelation. Robert Hooke didn't chase fame. He chased truth. With each lens, each law, and each line he drew, he peeled back the layers of the unseen. Centuries later, his curiosity still echoes in every cell and spring we study. Forgotten by many, remembered by science, this was the quiet genius who dared to see what others overlooked.